Hi, I'm George Pearson. In this Photoshop Elements text effects video, we'll be doing this Happy Halloween card with drippy letters. Now if you enjoy this video, make sure that you click that like button and also subscribe to my channel. If you want to learn how to really use Photoshop Elements, take a look at my complete training and you'll find links for that in the description. Okay, let's get to it. We'll be starting off this Photoshop Elements text effect video here with a brand new file. I'll just close that down. There we are. And go up here to File, New, and Blank File. Now the size I'm using is a standard postcard style size. It's default Photoshop Elements, which is 6 wide by 4 tall inches. Resolution of 300, and choose OK. And there we go. There's our basic file. Now let's fill the background in with a nice kind of purpley color. Go over here and up into the purples, and just around in here someplace, anywhere around here is fine. You can choose whatever color you like. The one that I happened to use, BA63D7. Right there, BA63D7. Again, it's in the purples and right about in the middle and down just a little bit, kind of darkens it down just a little bit. So right around in there, anywhere in there is fine. Choose OK, and then Paint Bucket and Fill. There we are. That takes care of the basic background. Now I want to put in a bunch of those cats in here, and we'll do that by creating a custom pattern. Let's first reset our background colors here. Black in front, white in back. That's perfect. Let's now open up a new file. File, New, Blank File. Now the default Photoshop element size is 6 inches by 4 inches. So if I divide this and use 1 inch square for my pattern, that will then give me 6 cats across and 4 cats up and down. If I did a 1/2 inch size for the pattern, I would have 12 cats across and 8 cats down. But I want the little larger cat. I think it looks good. So let's set these here to 1 by 1. So 1 inch square, 1 by 1. Choose OK. There we go. And we'll do our custom cat pattern in here. This is a different scale than that is back there. This is at 100%. That's at 32%, which is why it's so much larger. Just don't worry about that. Go down to the graphics right down there. And I'm looking in the shapes. There we are, graphics and shapes. And then I'll scroll down. Now there are a few black cats down here, and the one that's kind of standing I like. There we go. Now just stretch the cat so it's larger. Doesn't need to be any particular exact size in here. Just kind of like that and kind of centered so it's not quite to the edges. You have a little bit of space around there. That'll give you more space. Keep in mind that this space is going to be doubled with the next tile over, so that about half the space here as you have here is fine. But that looks good. Choose OK. There's our cat. Let's go back to the layers. Hide the background layer. So you have the cat on just a clear background, just like that. Okay, that takes care of this. Let's now save this as a pattern. Go up to Edit, Find Pattern, and then just give this one a name. I'll call it Black Cat 2 since I already made this once for that example at the beginning of the video. Choose OK. We now have this as a pattern. You can then close this and just get rid of that one. We don't need that any longer. Go over to the Paint Bucket. Down in the options, switch this over to patterns, and you should see your new pattern right there. If you don't, click on that little down arrow right here and then scroll down. Your pattern will be at the bottom of the screen. There's the one that we just did. That's the one I did for the example at the beginning of the video, and there's the one we just made right there. So click on that and then click Fill, and it fills your background with that pattern. There we go. There's our patterned background. Now the reason why it's on purple, of course, is that we had it set with a transparent background, so it's black cat sitting on top of the purple background. Okay, so far so good. Now let's get to work on our text. Go over here to the Type tool. I have mine set at Gill Sans Ultra Bold Regular, and let's bring that up. There it is, Gill Sans Ultra Bold Regular. Just a real thick typeface right there. Now if you're looking at your type list and your typefaces aren't this size in the list, if you like this real large size, it makes it really easy to see what the typefaces look like. Not really sure why this kind of jumps back and forth like that. That's a little new problem that showed up recently in Elements. I'll just ignore that. In any case, if you want this nice large sample here, go up to Edit, come down to Preferences, and then come down here to Type. And right here you have Font Preview Size. I have mine set on huge. I did that on purpose so it's easy to see here in these videos. I normally have it set at large or medium, but I have it set for huge for the videos. Okay, so there's our typeface. Come down to the color down here, click on this, and then scroll down a little bit. We have some oranges right down here. And that one right there is called Pure Yellow Orange. Click on that, and that's our color for the text. Now let's just click in here someplace and type in happy. There we go, and somehow the typeface changed on me. That happens sometimes. Let's go back up to what I want, which is right there. There we go. Choose OK. We'll be doing 2 lines here. 1 line for happy and 1 line for Halloween. Back to the type tool. Click in here again. Halloween. Choose OK. There we go. So happy and Halloween. So far so good. That's our basic text. We'll be working with this. Now that you have this, let's make some adjustments on this now. The first thing we want to do is put in a gradient into our lettering. And we'll do that with a layer on top of these layers. Go up here to the top one. I'm going to pull down Halloween so it's underneath happy like that. So it's happy on top, Halloween on bottom. There we go. Now let's put a new layer above that. This will be our gradient layer. Go over to the gradient tool. There it is. Now I have my gradient already set in here. But let's start this from scratch. This is going to be the foreground and background color. So we'll start right there. The bottom 2 stops, these are your color stops. Click on the left color stop, and where it is color right there. And then just pull this right down to the bottom and up here, upper left hand corner. That's your basic standard red color right there, just real standard red. Choose OK. And that's fine for the left side. Go to the right side, click on the right color stop, which right now is white. Come back here to the color picker, and then we'll be choosing kind of a nice yellow for this up in here. Now the color that I used for my yellow, if you want to match yours exactly, is FFEA00 right there. It's just a little touch of orange into it so it matches with the red better. Choose OK. So there's our basic gradient. Now if you notice there's too much red in here, I want to have this more orangey yellow and not so much red in the middle. So I'll grab this little control right there. Now, notice how the cursor changes around here. If it's up here, you get a little eyedropper. If it's down here, you get a little hand. If it's right on that little control there, you go back to the pointer. So make sure you're on that pointer and not the hand. So when you see the pointer, grab that, click on that, and either slide it over to the left or type in. And I have my midpoint here set at 35. Choose OK. Right, there's the gradient. Now I want the gradient going from just above to just below the letters. To make this easy, I'm just going to grab my rulers up here and drag down guidelines so they're just above and just below my letters. I'll do 1 set here, and let's do a 2nd set down here for Halloween. These don't have to be exact, just kind of about that. Just a bit of space above and a bit of space below is fine. Now if you don't have your rulers showing, go up here to View, and just check right there it says rulers, and you'll see your rulers. You can then drag those guidelines down from the rulers. Okay, so there is our gradient. We're on our gradient tool. I'll come here to the top line, hold the Shift key down, which will give me an exact vertical gradient. Hold the Shift key down, pull straight down to that bottom line, and let go. Now ignore this stuff outside, that doesn't matter. All we care about is what's inside those 2 lines, and you can see that now. If we go over here to the layer, right click where the name is and come down to Create Clipping Mask, and that puts that gradient inside those letters. There we go. The reason why I did it that way is I can then move this around, change it to anything I want to have a lot of flexibility at this point. Let's do the exact same thing down here for Halloween. Make a new layer like that. We already have our gradient set. come in here to the top line above Halloween, hold the Shift key down, and then pull straight down and let go. There's the gradient. And right where the name is, right click and create clipping mask, and it puts that gradient inside of the letters. There we go. We're now done with those guidelines. Go up here to View and Clear Guides, and that's taken care of. Okay, that step is done. Let's now put some layer styles on these two things. Just a little bit of layer styling. Up here to the top one, the Happy, Layer Style Settings. And we'll be using a bevel in here and a stroke. So bevel and a stroke. Bevel should be on up. And let's set the size in here. Just make sure we click on the check mark right there. Set the size to 10 and change the angle here to 130, kind of puts it over to the left hand side. Gives us just a little bit of a bevel and there, a little bit of a three-dimensional effect. And then on the stroke, click on stroke. And for the size on here, change the size to 50. And let's go to inside and then outside. Make sure it's going outside. Sometimes even though it says outside, it ends up being inside. So just change to anything else and then change back to outside again to make that set. There we go. So those are our basic style settings, our basic layer styles. Choose OK. Now, there's the Happy with our little FX over there for the layer style. Now right click on the name. Come down here to Copy Layer Style. Come down to Halloween. Right click on the name and paste layer style. It just copies all those settings. There's the basic layer styles done for this. Let's now put in our curving on our letters. Back to our top one here on Happy. We'll do this one first. Go back to the Type tool. Just click in the middle someplace. It doesn't matter where you click. Just click in the middle so you're in the text. Come down to this little icon right there. This is our Type Warp tool or Text Warp tool. There we are. And where it says Style and None, click on that. And up here where it says Arc Upper, choose that one. And let's set this at 42 for that and choose OK. There's our upper arc. Let's now come down to the bottom text. Click on the little green check mark right there. Come to the bottom text. That's this layer. Back to your Type tool. Click inside any old place. Doesn't matter where. Back to the Warp Text tool. And on the style, we'll do arc lower this time. There we go. And again, let's set the setting here at 45. Just like that. So there's the basic warping on the text. You can now take your layers of type and kind of move them together a little bit. But first, let's come in here and adjust that gradient. Notice I'm on the gradient right now. Even if I'm down here on the lettering, I can still grab that gradient. You can then pull that back and forth until it's exactly where you want it. And that's why I set that up as this clipping mask. So I can actually move that around. And that looks pretty good. Just kind of in here someplace. Let's go to the top one up here. And same thing, I'll move that up a little bit. There we go. So you can kind of just drag that up and down till you get the lettering just the way you want it. There's our coloration. Now come down to the bottom one here where it says Halloween, and then using the up arrows on your keyboard, let's just tap that up a little bit. Maybe a little bit higher. I want to see a little bit of those cats underneath there, just a touch. Go up here to Happy and then use the down arrow. I'm just going to bring these together a bit. Like that. Just like kind of bumping into each other. Anywhere in here is pretty good. Now it looks to my eye like it's a little bit heavy off to the left hand side. It's actually centered pretty well. But I'm going to just tap it to the right just a little bit, give it a bit of a visual difference in here. You can kind of edge those around a little bit using the arrow keys on your keyboard. And let's go back to our gradient and maybe a little more red. Pull it down just a little bit. And back to the bottom gradient and pull that one up a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, now that's all of the main work in here. We're now ready to do the drippy letter effect on these things. Let's go up here to Happy. Make a copy of this layer. I'm making a copy in case I mess up. I can always go back to my original one down here. So let's take this, drag it up to the new layer button right there. Now when that happens, when you do that, you're going to lose the clipping mask on your top layer. So click on the layer, right click on the name, and create clipping mask to put that back in again. Come down to this layer, right click on the name again, and simplify the layer. And you should see the icon change so you see just the text. Do the exact same thing down here on the Halloween layer. Take the layer, bring it up to the new layer button, come back to your gradient, right click, create clipping mask, put that back inside again, back down to your copy, right click, and simplify layer. We can now hide the original text layers. They have a little kind of warped text on them. Hide those two layers. And again, those are just our safety. In case we mess up, we can go back to those and start again at that point without losing all that work that we did. Okay, let's go up here to happy. It's our happy copy. And we're now going to put in our drippy letter effect. It's easy and fun to do. Go up to the filter menu, come down here to distort, and then over to liquify right there. There's the liquify. We'll be using two of the tools. The top tool up here, which is the warp tool, and this one right down here, which is the bloat tool. We'll be using both of those. Go to the warp tool first, and on the size over here, set your size at 15, and set your pressure at 75. I'm going to grab the magnifying glass or the zoom tool and just zoom in just a little bit like that. That's fine. We'll be doing this in 3 steps. The first step is with the top tool here, the warp tool, and these settings. And just come in and just drag straight down, just like that, along the edges. I'll do just the H in here, and I'll show you how it turns out. And then I'll do the rest of this off camera because it takes just a little while to do this. But pull these down a bit. Don't go too far on this step. We're just kind of beginning our basic look in here. You want to distort this a little bit. Pull the middle down just a touch, not too much on this one crossbar here. And come into the top just a bit here. There we go. And I think I'll do the A as well because it has some curves in it. Same exact thing though, pull straight down, and we're just distorting the image. Where you have that little edge there with the A, you want to pull it down a little bit further to show that edge to help to sell it as being an A. So make sure you get that little extra bit right there. And same thing here, pull this down a bit. You can come into that bottom, kind of mess that up a little bit in here, not too much in the middle. You find the top tends to distort more than the bottom. On the edge, you can ignore the edges that are vertical edges. So just go through and do all of the letters like that. That's your first pass through at 15. Now, change this to 30. And on 30, we'll do just the bottoms. This is twice as big. And let's now pull some of these down further. And you can go quite a ways on this. Don't be afraid on this step of going too far. So what happens though here, I have some little pieces left from my first pass in there, and then I have my bigger things here from this pass. And that's why we're doing 2 passes that. So you have some big stuff and some smaller stuff. You want more of the little things and less of the big things. And try to keep them kind of ragged like that. Okay, so that's our second pass. Didn't take as long on the second one. Try to keep these relatively up and down. That's 30. Let's now go over here to the other tool. This is the Bloat Tool. Set this also at 30, and then come right over the end and just tap on that. Just keep on tapping. You can kind of see the end getting round down there. Just do it in one spot. Keep on tapping to get a nice little round spot at the very, very bottom down there. It'll take quite a few taps to do this. Don't worry about that. Just take your time and tap it a bunch to get a nice little round blob at the end, a little drip happening at the very bottom down there. There we go. You can see how that's going. And there's a whole bunch of little taps in here. And round off that drip at the end. Just worry about the big ones. Don't do the small ones, just do the largest ones here. So ignore all those little bits. And don't do any of the ones at the top of the letters. Leave all those as is. And only do the ones down here at the bottom. This is where our drips are happening. And there it is. That's the basic concept. So again, it's 3 passes. First pass is on the warp tool, set at 15, pressure 75. Second pass, warp tool at 30, just the bottom. Third pass is the bloat tool and rounding out the ends of your longer ones. Then choose OK. And there's your drippy effect right there. Okay, I'm going to pause the video right now and I'll finish the drips on the rest of these letters, and then I'll bring the video right back up again and we'll see how it looks. And there it is. There's the finished happy with our drippy letters. Let's now do the bottom half here, the Halloween. If it gets a bit too close on this, just go over here to Halloween and then hold the Control key down. Click on the Layer 2 so those are both selected, and then use the down arrow key just to kind of move that again to reposition that a little bit. That looks better. What's happening is that the black outline is being pulled down to go around those drips. So it may take a little bit of readjustment after you get to this point. Okay, so there it is, back to that Halloween copy layer. Now from here on out it's exactly the same thing. Just go up to Filter, come down to Distort, come down to Liquify, and there we go, there's the Halloween. We'll zoom in on this. I'll just do the H on this one. That's pretty good. So again, the warp tool, set the size at 15, pressure still 75, and do your first pass. These are the little ones. There we go, just a few of those in there. A little bit here, and then kind of mess the top up a little bit. I'm just, each time I pull down, I'm clicking it. Kind of pull and drag on that. Change the size to 30. Do just the bottom for your big ones. And this can go quite a ways down. These can be pretty long. Don't worry about going too far on this. You can always bring it back up again and do more if you're not quite happy with it. There we go. And again, we'll do the exact same thing and match all of this to all of the other letters. Okay, second or third pass rather here, this is the Bloat tool, and then it's come to the very end and tap a whole bunch of times to create that round drop end on that. The more you tap, the larger it gets. It's going to match the size eventually that you have in there on the brush. And mine is set at 30. Just keep on doing that to get that finished. Get those nice little round ends on it. Choose OK. And there's that drippy effect. So that's all there is to it to create this Happy Halloween with drippy letters. It's just a fun little trick here using that Liquify tool. Okay, I'm going to pause the video again, just finish off that Halloween, and then we'll finish it off with a last little bit of touch-ups. Okay, there's the Halloween finished. Now this, of course, has pulled the lettering down a little bit, so it's now too close to the bottom. Let's just click up here, come down to the bottom text, choose all of those, click Shift key, and then the bottom Halloween. And then using the up arrow, I'm just going to tap these back up into place again. Just like that. There we go. Okay, there it is. There is the Happy Halloween card with drippy letters. Let's just pull this out and enlarge the size a little bit, make it easier to see here. There we go. Happy Halloween with drippy letters. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com.